Yeah, where?
Hi,
Crazy.
everyone. Welcome. Use the chat if you are so inclined and let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you're having a sandwich or a beverage, let us know what you're enjoying for the talk. I'm in Seattle. Max is in London. Dan's in Seattle. Basement of the Spheres. Hi, Renee. Hi, Anna. Columbia City. Yes, definitely get a drink. St. Paul, Minnesota, Vancouver, Canada. Hello, welcome. Oakton, Virginia, Boston, welcome. We'll let a few more of you log in. Hello in Seattle, and then we'll get started. Ready to talk about picnics and sandwiches and all the good things. All right, I think we're gonna get started. Hello and welcome. I'm Laura Hamilton. I have a cookbook shop in Seattle, Washington that's called Book Larder. And in more normal times, we have a kitchen in the space and we host a lot of author talks and cooking classes in the shop. And ever since the beginning of the pandemic, we have moved that work to Zoom, which has been wonderful in some ways that were kind of unexpected in that we are able to welcome people from all over the country and all over the world to our author talks. And we are also able to make talks like the one tonight happen, where we can welcome Max Halley from London, and he can be in conversation with Dan Crookston here in Seattle. So thank you for joining us for that. We're so delighted to welcome Max and talk about Max's picnic book. It is one of my favorite books of the spring. It is so much fun, lovely stories, lovely photography, and the most entertaining menus that you will find anywhere, I think, and couldn't be more timely as we are starting to be able to gather with our friends and family in small groups. And it seems like staying outside, at least for a while, is still the smartest thing to do. So let's have some fun picnics, right? So Max and Dan are going to talk about the book. Obviously, they are also going to leave time for questions. And so if you have any questions, just use that Q&A button that you will find at the bottom of your screen. And we will, like I said, try to get to as many of those as possible. The book is available at booklarder.com. Thank you so much to everyone who's bought it so far. I will put a link into the chat so that you can pick up a copy if you would like, and you can support this author talk by buying it from us. And if you're going to buy it, just all I ask is that you buy it from an independent bookstore, please. And I know many of you do that, so thank you so much. All right. I am going to turn things over now to Max and Dan.
Woo! Hello, Dan.
Hey, everyone. How's it going, bud?
If you've noticed, but I've got my roast chicken hat on.
I did notice. I see that in a bunch of the photographs and content you have online, as well as in the book. I'm sure Ben loves it when you have that on.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he takes me seriously when I got this on.
Ben, he does.
I don't know what. I just love the way the legs wobble. Look at the legs.
they do. It feels good on the head.
Yeah, keeps you nice and warm. It's a bit like wrapping your head in what do you guys call it? Saran wrap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder if it keeps the government away. Does it keep the
Without
cameras?
a doubt. Without a doubt. Those people try to steal my sandwich-based thoughts.
Yeah, no facial recognition.
They
think it's a roast turkey. I love it. Oh, Max. We can have a lot of fun. Well, look, it's obviously a great honor for me to have this conversation because I've loved your sandwich shop. It was a big inspiration to me in taking over this sandwich shop here and having the confidence and courage. Your first sandwich book was a big deal because it touched on a lot of things that I loved about sandwiches, especially textures and layers. And you can now see that in a pretty haughty new jacket. I
Oh
understand.
my God.
As
Can I show you? I've got one here actually.
I think you should show the audience this jacket because it's
I
pretty.
know, I don't want to boast, but it's literally like the coolest thing that has ever happened to me.
It's pretty. I love it.
So this is through. I mean, this is one of the surrealist things ever. This is so Comme des Garçons have released in their 2021 spring summer collection a jacket and a t-shirt that feature the cover of my sandwich book. So here is my sandwich book. This is, look at that, look, Junior Watanabe, Comme des Garçons, right? This is the jacket. This jacket costs $1,000. They sent me one, and then look, so it looks like a nice blue jacket. Perhaps it looks black on the camera. Then you open it. Oh wait, let me get the take the coat hanger out. You open up the jacket, undo the zip, and
You even have a white hanger.
inside the jacket, the lining is the cover of my book. Isn't that like the coolest thing ever?
It is. I still can't. I can't. The picture of you online with it. It was just so spectacular. Well, and the cover of the book talks about the layers of a sandwich, and something that you and I chatted about the other day. And so to see it inside your jacket was just epic.
It's a mad thing. I can't
Your legend grows, my man. Your legend grows, Max.
Life is full of surprises. I tell you, it's just extraordinary.
Well, was it more exciting to see your cover of your book on the inside of this hot jacket or on the cover of Time Out?
Yeah, I don't know. And the cover of Esquire as well.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. No, to be honest, I think the jacket kind of trumps everything.
Well,
so you're not meant to say that.
I think this is a great segue into my first question I wanted to chat with you a little bit about today, because your first book, the subtitle, The Ultimate Guide to Creating Perfection Between Two Slices of Bread, really did introduce your Finsbury Park location in London. To all that deliciousness that's inside. Well, sandwich lovers all over the world. I send people that come to Seattle that are going to London. I make sure they go to Finsbury Park.
Thank you.
But with Max's picnic book, you've taken a step away from just sandwiches.
Yeah.
And you've created these entire meals that can be eaten outside. And you've done so through these hilarious, very suspicious conjoinings of these hosts and guests and their adventures through eating outdoors. So, my first question is, why picnics? What drove you this direction?
Well, I guess why picnics, it starts with why sandwiches. So 7 and a bit years ago, when I opened the sandwich shop, firstly, England was running about 15 years behind America in terms of the kind of development of the sandwich culture. That really, when I opened the sandwich shop, the best sandwiches that you could buy were really from pret-a-manger and kind of high street chains, and nobody had really thought about the stuff that you can put in between two bits of bread in a more chefy manner. And I felt that the sandwich was sort of neglected and kind of left by the wayside a little bit, and that it needed some help. And so I thought I'd try and open a sandwich shop, and in Britain, the sandwich becomes something that you could eat for your dinner, something that could be a whole meal, something that could be hot. Do you know what I mean? Something that goes really well with something that goes really well with loads of beers, something really fun. And so that is exactly what I did. And, the truth is the sandwich book has been very successful. It's sold extremely well. And so
I love it.
I wanted to write another book. I didn't want to write another book about sandwiches.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, how I thought, how I arrived at sandwiches in the first place by sort of realizing that they'd been neglected. That what could I start looking into that had been similarly neglected? And it dawned on me that that thing was the picnic. And the picnic could become this kind of, and obviously I'm talking from the context of someone in England,
Right.
not in the US, where you guys have a much better attitude to stuff. Like, I've been to parks in America where you guys got barbecues in the parks that anyone is allowed to use. Like, we don't do that in England. Like, we picnic like suckers. So I just sort of found I'm guilty of it myself, but when I close my eyes and think about a picnic, what I see is like something out of The Wind in the Willows. And, I see people peach-coloured clothing saying things like, ooh, these cucumber sandwiches are simply sensational. And it's like the idea of people getting creative at a picnic in England is taking an allegedly innovative approach to hummus. And I just think, like, what the fuck? It's just not good enough. Something needs to be done. And so I thought I'd write a book to try and reinvigorate the picnic a bit, to bring a bit of joy back to something that has become sort of co-opted by, Fortnum and Mason and like wicker basket and bottles of champagne that aren't as cold as they're meant to be. And I like wicker baskets is the perfect example. Like a wicker have you ever actually tried to have a picnic with a wicker basket? Like,
I have not.
They're useless. They make this really annoying squeaking noise. They catch on your clothes and rip your jumper. They provide no insulation of any kind whatsoever. And this, for me, was like the perfect metaphor of what the picnic has become. That it was, we've forgotten that lunch at your desk at work, lunch in the back of your mum's car in a motorway service station, something to eat on a train, like these are all picnics. These are opportunities for deliciousness that are underexploited. And to be honest, it just makes me cross, where it's like, why am I eating this rubbish thing that has cost way more money than it is worth? And I'm kind of accepting that it's crap because it's just something to eat on the train. And I just thought, this isn't good enough. Something needs to be done. And so how it all began for me was thinking about the thermos flask. The thermos flask is a miracle of modern science. It keeps hot things hot and cold things cold, and can do so for a very long time. Like, you can put Snickers ice creams in a thermos flask, go for a 5-hour walk, get to the top of your beautiful hill or whatever, look at the geezers in Yellowstone or whatever it is, and 5 hours later you can take the lid off your thermos flask, take out a Snickers ice cream, and it's still cold. And it's like, why is the thermos flask, like, for me, in my before I started thinking about all this stuff, the thermos flask was something that was for keeping tea hot. That's it. And it's like, and then I just realized, like, the thermos flask, you can do so much. You can go to whatever your local supermarket is, Target or whatever, and buy a can of like Campbell's consomme. You can heat it up, tip it into the thermos flask. You buy a packet of tortellini from the supermarket, chuck that in, put the lid on, tortellini and brodo in the park. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so no one was talking about this. They were all like, like beetroot hummus. I'm like, well, fuck beetroot hummus. Like, I want tortellini and brodo in the park. Thank you very much. I want cacio e pepe on the train, which you can do all these things with a thermos flask. So that was why picnics, because fundamentally they needed some help.
That's I love the background, because I think many of our modern day conveniences that we love are because something was missing or something was not being attended to. and
Yeah,
someone
indeed.
decided to pay attention to it and bring it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's largely the way that things get done, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
nature of the innovation, entrepreneurship, or whatever. Those things are all,
Absolutely.
what is there?
Absolutely.
And it's like, for me, I am, I don't want to portray myself in too bad a light, but fundamentally I'm a glutton. And it was like, I just thought, like, why am I dunking crisps in hummus in the park when I could? These are moments, these are opportunities for deliciousness. And
Right.
and I want to make more of those. I want to enjoy myself. All that book is about how to enjoy yourself more, how to find deliciousness in places where you didn't think there was any, like sat on a park bench with Hunter S. Thompson.
I love it. Well, as folks get your book and they start to thumb through it, they're going to be, they're going to quickly realize how much you love life. I don't think there's anything that's they don't realize now. Anyone that's joined us on this call, they obviously realize you like to have fun. And you take fun very seriously, actually. And the book, the picnic book, does that amazingly well with these. With the writing, with the groups of guests that you put together, with their hosts, the food, like everything is fun. Even as an American, even trying to decipher some of the English slang for things is pretty fun.
There's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of that.
When I think of a hamper, I definitely don't think of something I put food into. Here in America, it's more like a diaper thing or something. But
something to keep the nappies warm.
Exactly. But, one of the things that struck me, and I was probably 50 pages in, but I was just started to imagine where you and Ben, where you were when you were thinking about this creatively. Like, where were and more pointedly, like, what is the creative process when you decided on the topic of picnics? Like, how did you decide on, well, let's just make up guest picnics? Like, was that over beers or over wine? Were you guys?
No, to be honest, like the idea for the book was conceived completely separately because we were in lockdown in England in the first.
That's right.
It was the first lockdown. I think it was the 23rd of March in 2020. And
wow, that's a fast turnaround.
Yeah, and we'd gone into lockdown, and I phoned Ben, and I said, "Look, dude, everything is fucking bleak. Like all these business people are closing their business. How to go out? Like, think about people. Like, for me, what I thought about was, because, to be brutally honest, I got the hell out of Dodge, and I went to my parents' house in Somerset, in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside in the southwest of England, and." So I was in the side for lockdown, and I just thought, like, all those people living. If you live in a high-rise building, you live on the 14th floor of a building, you don't have a garden, and the government are telling you not to fucking go outside, and it's like and the weather was amazing, which obviously for me in the countryside was great, but it was just like, if you're in a south-facing tower block, imagine how hot it is in England. We do not have air conditioning. We just don't. We don't air condition buildings, like maybe offices or something. But no one has air conditioning in their house. Only like footballers or whatever, billionaires. Like, and so I just thought, like, how miserable it must be for everyone. So I phoned Ben, and I said to Ben, like, I've had the idea. I know what we should do. I know what we should do our next book about. We should do about picnics. And what we should do is, while the world is so grim, we should write a book about joy and about enjoying yourself and about how to make it really easy, like loads of that. Obviously, technically, it's a cookbook. It's full of recipes. Although I wrote at the beginning in huge letters, this is not a cookbook. It is a book. And I said to Ben, like, we need to do something that's just really positive. Just really positive. And then obviously I did not think that more than a year later when the book came out, we are still in a lockdown.
Right.
And so, like, you know, like, none of us thought that, you know, like, my mind is blown. And so it is like, accidentally, I have written this book about picnics at an extremely good time. But I didn't intend it to be timed that well, because, you know, we have like Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, was actually on telly talking to people about you could go outside and have a picnic. And I was like,
he's promoting your book for you.
Yeah, and there don't seem to be any other books about picnics coming out. It's amazing.
I love it.
So, but I know the creative process, you know, to get back to your question, sorry, but the creative process is, you know, my mum describes me, in fact, so I am 38 now. When I was about 19, my mum, who is Danish, and I don't know what to politely call it, she doesn't mince her words.
All right.
Said to me when I was about 19 that I must never forget how lucky I am to have been born stupid enough to wake up every day thinking everything's going to be all right. And it's like that attitude and that way that I am lucky to be able to look at the world is the creative process behind that book. I just wanted to spread a bit of joy about, to help people's lunches be a bit better, give them some laughs. Like I seriously think this is the only cookbook that I have certainly been able to find that has a disclaimer. Because of all the ridiculous stories. Like, it's a joy. And I think it was such a nice way. I wanted to try and, you know, like I said, I didn't just want to do a sandwich book too. I wanted to, you know, I'm a talker, right? I'm a storyteller, and you know, raconteur or whatever. And I wanted the picnic book to show that. So that's why, you know, half of it is stories. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Amazon reviews which are like, I thought this was a cookbook. What am I doing reading about, you know, Genghis Khan, Oscar Wilde, and Dorothy Parker drinking ice cold gin martinis out of a thermos flask under a willow tree
and eating steak tartare.
Yeah, eating steak tartare, exactly. Seasoned by a horse's sweat.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think, you know, it is quite timely, and you know, clearly the pandemic influenced, you know, some of the, you know, maybe the beginning of this, but clearly now, especially here in America, as we're starting to be vaccinated, we're at, I think, maybe over 40% of people have the first
population.
So, you know, we're starting to eat together again outside, and in some cases, I mean, Renee and my wife and I had our first indoor dining experience with friends who were vaccinated, and it was, you know, there was a leap there, Max. There was a moment that we kind of all looked at each other while outside, going, "Okay, is it time to go inside?" You know, and it's like, "Okay, we're going to do this," and there's like this mental thing. But
I can't wait for that feeling. Like going out for lunch is literally the greatest joy in my life, and that's also, I guess, part of why I've written this book, because it was like, I realized that I couldn't go out for lunch, that, you know, and I was in the countryside, and I was going for these huge long walks every day and getting the sun on my face and sitting down in the fields smoking a cigarette or whatever it was I was doing, that I was taking things in thermos flasks out with me. Like, I made ceviche at my parents' house, and a thermos flask, and I went out for a huge walk, and I was just sitting in the field like 4 miles from my mum and dad's house using what do you call it? Like, we call it baby gem lettuce. Do you call it the same thing? Like little
little gems,
little gem, like, and I just took in a bag, I took a thermos flask full of ceviche and a baby gem lettuce, and I just sat in a field, and I tipped the ceviche I broke off leaves of the lettuce, I tipped out ceviche out of the thermos flask, and I ate it, and I was just like, my God, this is what the book's about.
I love it. Well, you know, it's definitely, it's given me courage that, you know, grabbing a bag of chips and putting some putting some sort of chutney or something in there and then shaking it up and eating it means I'm
Tabasco,
picnicking.
Liam Perrins.
Exactly.
That is, we've forgotten that, like in England, one of the classic pub snacks is pickled eggs. And like traditionally what you do is you open up your bag of crisps or chips and you put a pickle, you get the landlord or the bartender or whatever,
Yep.
put the pickled egg in the bag of crisps. And in order to make Bloody Marys, like even the worst pubs in England always have Tabasco and Liam Perrins. And so I ask, can I have the Tabasco and the Liam Perrins? And I get a good egg in my bag of crisps, and then boom, 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 I tip that in and I give it a little crack. It's like, that's a picnic, man. And that's why in the first picnic in the picnic book, that is what Hunter S. Thompson does when he's in the pub. And like, this is what I'm saying, that we just need something needed to be done to help us look with kind of fresh eyes at our environments, and that you can turn a pickled egg and a bag of crisps into a picnic by realizing that there's Tabasco and Liam Perrins behind the bar, shaking some into your bag and turning a pickled egg and a bag of crisps, quite frankly, into something verging on a meal.
I love it. I think that, just talking about Hunter S. Thompson leads me towards my next question, because as I was getting through some of these picnics, I was thinking of like, okay, well, which picnic would I want to eat? And but which guest would I want to be, or which host would I want to be a guest of? And I decided that I wanted to be a guest of Hunter S. Thompson's because I'm a big fan, but I also think it would bring out some of the most awkwardness, because there would be maybe Genghis Khan would also be someone that would
I'd imagine Genghis Khan knows how to party.
Yeah, he would know how to throw a party, I think. But have you thought of outside of with your parents, which is probably your choice, but outside of that chapter, do you have a guest or a host that you would most like to have a meal with in your book?
No, like Hunter S. Thompson is a fucking hero as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know who. I think maybe there's a thing called an In the Mood for a Midnight Feast snack travaganza picnic, which is all about Wong Kar-wai. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, In the Mood for Love, which is really one of the most beautiful movies of all time. It was originally a series of 3 short films called 3 Films About Food, and then was turned into this beautiful like Cantonese, Hong Kong based movie about, I don't know if you haven't seen it, I don't want to tell you what it's about, but it's basically,
I just wrote it down so that I could watch it.
Yeah, you should watch it. And there's a Chungking Express, another one of his movies set in the Chungking mansions in Hong Kong, which is this kind of legendary sort of den of iniquity.
Right.
Fugitives and refugees kind of hangout in Hong Kong. And anyway, like Wong Kar-wai's movies, In the Mood for Love being a great example of it, which probably is like his best movie, really. All about how important it is to that they're about the idea that we would all be happier and have kind of more philosophic, fruitful lives, more fun, more good stuff happening to us if we actually seize the opportunities that come along to us, and or indeed notice them in the first place. And I think that is a beautiful message to send out to people, and kind of very linked to the whole idea behind the picnic book of, what I'm saying about like that lunch on the train is an opportunity for deliciousness, and we let those pass by. And Wong Kar-wai's belief is that nearly all of us, I'm sure himself included, allow many wonderful things that could happen to us to pass us by in life, and by just not having the courage to tell someone you love them, or to tell someone to fuck off when they're really horrible. And do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And so I think probably out of everyone in the book, I'd probably like to sit down and have a picnic with Wong Kar-wai, because I think that his message and his perception of the world and of us and of people is beautiful and right.
I think a lot of folks, including myself here, would like to have a meal with you because you're so entertaining.
I know how for a party as well.
You do. Well, you know, that it's something that struck me when I was eating at Max's Sandwich Shop with your staff was, you know, that your sense of fun and hospitality does bleed through to the staff, at least that were there on my visit.
Yeah,
But,
very much.
you know, and so that leads me to my next question is about, you know, what does hospitality mean to you coming from, you know, your back end and fine dining into the sandwich shop, and now you're doing, and how does that relate to your suggestion box at the shop? Which for everyone viewing here is a very unique suggestion box.
It's an extremely unique. I've never seen. Yeah, we'll get onto the suggestions box in a minute. I think hospitality. What is hospitality to me? Hospitality to me is being nice to people, and I think that. So, let me think of the best way to describe. Right. So, as someone who eats out a lot in normal times, one of the great restaurant blags in England, or what I would consider one of the great restaurant blags, is when you first sit down, somebody brings you over a menu, they put the menus down, and they say, "Can I get you some water, still or sparkling?" You know, gassy or flat, you call it in America. You want some, you know, "Can I get you some water, still or sparkling?" And I, the customer, I have to say, "Oh, tap, please." And that is not hospitality. That is selling you shit. So in my sandwich shop, we do not do bottled water. We just have like a huge jug with loads of ice and loads of slices of ginger in it. And the ginger is replaced every once an hour. That new ginger is cut and put in. And the truth is, it's delicious. Like the ginger's surprisingly pungent in the water. So when you come into Max's Sandwich Shop and you sit down, we bring you over some menus and we give you a couple of glasses of iced ginger water, so that the very first act that the restaurant does, even though it's only a glass of water, the very first act that the restaurant does to the customer is a gift, not a sales pitch. And that is hospitality. That is, "Thanks for coming. Here's a little treat. Here's something nice." And that is, and so, I mean, I say that, and now I tell you about these.
No, I love it. I wrote that down. I think it's
the suggestions box in the sandwich shop is a shredder, and it's like, trust me, if we did listen to all of the suggestions that customers make, we'd have no tables. We'd have 2 pool tables instead of tables. And quite frankly, we'd have closed down a week after we opened. And the sandwich shop, you've been there. It's very small, and all of the staff,
yes, it is,
of the guys who work there, are all very approachable and really nice. And if anyone has a suggestion, they can just tell us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have a suggestions box. There's a sign on the wall that says suggestions box, and there's a big arrow pointing at the shredder underneath it. And like, one of the wonderful things that has started to happen as a result of the shredder suggestions box is what loads of tables do is they get their menu, and we have loads of Sharpies in a glass next to the suggestions box. And what people do that I think is so cool is they sit at the tables and they write secrets. They write secrets on pieces of paper, and they go up and they put them in the suggestions box. Isn't that so cool? Anyway, I've got to tell you this wonderful story about the suggestions box. So I'm working in the sandwich shop one day with David, this guy who used to be the manager. there's this guy in there eating a sandwich on his own, and he said, "Oh, I've got a suggestion," and oh, cool. Well, write it down, pop it in the box, and. And so I go over. I get a menu, and I get a Sharpie, and I give it to the guy. And the guy writes this like extremely serious, a very serious guy. He's writing down this thing, and he goes up to the box, and he puts it in. Yes, and I just couldn't help myself. I just like pissing myself with laughing. And like David, the manager's laughing, and like loads of the other customers are laughing, and like we're all laughing. And anyway, this guy just loses his shit, and he was like, "How dare you disrespect my opinion?" All this kind of stuff, and like he's actually shouting. And I said, "Dude, calm down. It's a joke, man. Like if you've got a suggestion, you just tell me, and I'll listen, and we can talk about it." Anyway, the guy, he like won't back down. He won't back down, and he is shouting like, "This is a fucking disgrace," all this kind of stuff. I don't know what to do. I'm probably still laughing a little bit. Anyway, and David, the manager, comes over, and he says to the guy, "Excuse me, sir," and the guy's like, "What?" And David says, "Coincidentally, it's also the complaints box. So why don't you write it down, pop it in the box, and read it later?" And I was just like, so where are my feelings about hospitality and gifts? Like, at the same time, I'm a dick with a suggestion for a shredder.
Well, it's definitely the most unique one I've seen.
Yeah, I have honestly never seen another one. I'm surprised they haven't cropped up in other places.
They may have. They just haven't been as visited, probably.
Yeah. That's easy. Like,
well, I was going to ask you what the one thing you wanted your readers to take away from the book, but I think we've talked about that. I think when you started talking about, the movie, and the director's name, Wu Wei, I think is what you're saying. I mean,
Wong Kar-wai.
Wong Kar-wai. I think, I think clearly what you want people to take away is that, life is full of opportunities for deliciousness, and you can say it the way you want, but it really feels that, and I felt that reading it. But was there anything else, any other message you wanted folks to, outside of that kind of fun that you wanted folks to know about the book?
I'd like them to laugh at my crap jokes.
Fair enough. They're pretty good. I mean,
I think that's another thing, that it's like a lot of that book. Of course, there's loads of recipes, but it's the kind of book that you can sit on the sofa and read a story.
Oh,
and and I think that's what I would really love. That hopefully, as time goes on, that maybe it's realised a bit more that the book is just full of these kind of wonderful stories. Funny, amazing imagined situations. And so I guess I hope that, as well as making people's lunch better and more fun and spreading a bit of joy around, there's also just for people to really enjoy themselves reading it, which is not something that you would generally get from a cookbook.
Sure. Yeah.
I read a lot of cookbooks, don't get me wrong, but
right.
There are, I remember there's this guy, a man called Russell Norman, who owned a big group of restaurants in London and around England called Polpo. And when the sandwich book came out, he, on the BBC, a big BBC radio station, they have this thing called the Food Programme, which is like a much to thing, and they do cookbook awards every year. And he was one of the people that was asked to nominate his cookbook of the year. And he said of the sandwich book that he was nominating my sandwich book as his cookbook of the year because it was the only cookbook he has ever read that made him laugh out loud. And, and the picnic book has a lot more gags than the sandwich book.
It does.
Yeah.
And the the sandwich book for me, and for folks, I really recommend you grabbing it, because for me, it took on this, for me, it gave me the confidence to put a meal in between two slices of bread.
Yeah, man.
Here at Mean Sandwich, we have a corned beef with cabbage, and that's a St. Patty's Day meal, right?
Yeah,
and that's,
food.
and that's our traditional sandwich here. Now we put mint
Yeah.
and other things on it, but and I think the sandwich book again, is really has been important to me as a sandwich shop owner, because it's given me a bit of a vision into your culinary creative side, but also the fun, right?
Yeah.
Finding the fun in the day-to-day of the work, finding the fun in the day-to-day of the atmosphere and the customers and the employees as well. And that book encapsulates a lot of that. And I think, I thank you. And in honor of that book, I'm really excited to announce that we are going to run your quintessential pub sandwich, the ham, egg, and chips, as a special this weekend here at Mean Sandwich.
Which is what this is.
Yes, exactly. Is that?
Yeah.
It's this one right here. In fact, I'm not going to claim that I'll be able to reproduce this image for everyone of the sandwich at every time, but you will be able to eat
and everything will be all right.
Oh man, the malt mayonnaise has been one of my favorite things. And you dip the chips in there, and all of a sudden you've got this creamy salt and vinegar chip going on. The malt mayonnaise is really great, but it comes for everyone that's out there. It's got a fried egg on it. It's got braised ham hocks on it. Crispy chips, piccalilli. And focaccia. My good friend Colin over at Wilmot's Ghost has been making focaccia for me all week. So it's been quite an experience. I'm going to plug my phone in because I'm finally moving into zero power. Yeah, so it's been quite an experience getting that ready. I'm really excited. Hopefully it'll last through the weekend, but it should be a lot of fun, Max. And I appreciate
you've had my Et tu Brute sandwich has been.
I did.
Hasn't it?
I did, absolutely. Yeah.
People said you couldn't put bread in a sandwich, but they didn't think about deep frying it.
They didn't think about putting the croutons in. Well, we talked about this the other day. I mean, the texture, putting texture in a sandwich is so important.
Yeah,
and, it's something you get to do.
Crunch particularly is the element of, like, we live in a world where people think that lettuce is crunchy, and it's like, that's just like a lettuce, unless you get like an iceberg lettuce and you cut a whole slice of it, like you cut a loaf of bread and you put that in a sandwich, I do think that is crunchy. But for me, lettuce provides no discernible crunch to a sandwich. Lettuce provides freshness to a sandwich. And what you really need is something deep fried to provide crunch. And like in the sandwich shop, all the sandwiches have a deep fried element. Like we have one that's got these like pickled spring rolls in it, which obviously is super crunchy. And otherwise we make our own crisps or chips. We make the allumettes, like what the French call allumettes, like matchsticks, for the ham. We use cassava root a lot to make chips because cassava has double the starch content of potato, so it goes much crunchier. We use sweet potato, like croutons, loads of stuff, and that's crunch. And I do think that going out, I'm a sandwich obsessive. I go and eat a sandwich anywhere, and I do often think that the element of deliciousness that is missing from a lot of the sandwiches that I eat is crunch and not enough mayonnaise.
And not enough mayonnaise. I love
You must have a liberal attitude to mayonnaise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree, especially on any meat that's hot. I think mayonnaise just brings all that fat back into it.
Mayonnaise, it's like nothing. It's such an achievable way of adding juiciness to a sandwich.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's like really underestimated. That it's like, personally, if I put a condiment in a sandwich like mustard or whatever, I always mix it into mayonnaise. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Sorry, we were just talking about mayonnaise.
Hi, Laura.
You can talk about mayonnaise more. Where will people find mayonnaise in your book? No, just had a question. One thing that I thought would be really fun. I absolutely love the photography in the book.
So Louise Hager, man, she is
so amazing.
Good. Yeah.
But obviously, you're not going to like show up at your picnic with that exactly, even though it's kind of fun to think about it. So tell our audience a little bit how you thought about sort of the menus for each of the picnics, because we had some questions about like what are the recipes like in the book, and
I mean,
not just sandwiches. So how did you think about that?
Like, the truth is, a lot of it, I didn't necessarily think of it as menus. Like, I think that they're all of them. It's a collection of loads of individual things, and that that you can bring them together in any combination that you so choose. Like, I'm not trying to tell anyone prosaically what to do. I'm just trying to say, like, did you ever think about having that in the park? Did you ever think you might be able to put that in a thermos flask? See, and that I want this to be like, as much as to cook my recipes, which are, may I say, excellent. I want this to inspire people to come up with their own stuff, to think about what they might want, to eat hot on a train and get looked at weird.
You've got things like steak tartare too, right?
Yeah, like steak tartare. What a great park dish. You just need a lettuce and a load of steak tartare and a thermos flask, and you got one of the best lunches of all time.
So people are going to find sandwiches. They're going to find, but they're also going to find like desserts. They're going to find scones and because kinds of things, all kinds of things. Yeah, that
life
was
hacks.
what I'm going to say. Tell us about the hacks, Max, because I think that's one of the fun parts of the book.
Pomegranate molasses that you can just throw into ice cream in your thermos.
Boss. So the hacks was like a huge thing for me. There's one here: 6 wonderful things to mix into mayonnaise.
It's great though. I mean,
the hacks. I think my 2 favorite ones of the hacks are the park cheesecakes. I think is just, quite frankly, a brilliant idea. So you go, let's say you're meeting up with 4 mates in the park. You want a picnic. You get each person to buy a packet of biscuits, a different pack of biscuits. Everyone else buys a different tub of dairy. So it could be like Philadelphia cream cheese, could be mascarpone, could be creme fraiche, could be yogurt, whatever. And you also buy 1 like sweet condiment. So chocolate spread, peanut butter, some kind of jam, whatever. And then all you need is the tubs of the things you've bought, the mascarpone, the jam, the biscuits. And as long as you've got a spoon, go into the dairy and spoon it on a biscuit, into the sweet condiment and spoon that on the biscuit. Hum. And what have you done? You just made a fucking cheesecake. and if you get 4 different biscuits, 4 different tubs of dairy, and 4 different sweet condiments, you are looking at hundreds and hundreds of combinations. And it only costs you what, $5 a person? Do you know what I mean? And then my other favorite one is the hacks of stuff to do with fast food drinks.
Yes, that was the one I
love that one. I like my favorite one was, like, I love McDonald's. I go to McDonald's whenever I can, at every available opportunity. And what I like to do after I've had my Big Mac meal and my 20 nuggets or whatever is when I'm watching my is I like to go out. I know, again, I didn't make myself sound like I'm really quite a reprehensible person. But I am always to be found, specifically for this reason, I might add, with a little mini bottles of Jameson's in my coat pocket, because without a doubt, my favorite thing about McDonald's is actually after I've left. So when I eat my lunch, I go up to the counter at the end and I get a vanilla milkshake and a double espresso. I go outside onto the street, I take the lid off the milkshake, I tip my double espresso into the milkshake, I tip my miniature bottle of Jameson's into the milkshake, I stir it all up, and I got an Irish coffee milkshake, mate. And it's like, I'm a boss. This is picnicking like a boss. And like, thing that you're not, picnicking doesn't have to necessarily be, it's not about cooking and Michelin stars and that. It's about that, just thinking a bit differently about stuff. Like, in any corner shop or your 7-Eleven or whatever, you can get one of those little bottles of whiskey, and you can make yourself an Irish coffee milkshake, and it's like, that's a picnic.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's six, I think it's eight things to do with fast food soft drinks, and that's one of them.
Sorry in Fanta, I think, was one of them.
About that. A minute.
Red wine and Coca-Cola is the one I'm interested in
I
trying.
wasn't sure I was down with that one, but we'll see.
No, it's a surprisingly good park drink, and you can jump.
So Max, you finish up, it's Mother's Day here this weekend, and you finish.
Oh, is it?
It is, yes, and you finish up the book with a picnic at your mom and dad's. Tell us about that one, and why did you decide to finish the book that way?
So that picnic, I'm pleased you asked me about that, because it's really nice. So my parents have, like, they're creatures of habit, and at Saturday breakfast at my parents' house, every Saturday they have ever been at home, they have done the same thing. So the same music plays. The first Astrid Gilberto album is played on the stereo. My dad goes downtown into the little town where my parents live and buys 3 croissants, 1.5 each for him and for my mum. I know when I'm in bed at my mum and dad's house on a Saturday morning, I can hear this noise, round and round and round. And that is the noise of my mum grinding her coffee on her like hand, it's like 1950s or something, like hand coffee grinder. And so every single thing that they do between like 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. on a Saturday, they have done exactly the same thing every Saturday for 45 years. And I find that, look, I less so now than I used to, but I used to have like the rogue in me. And I'd find that even like living in London, I wake up on someone's floor at like 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, feeling like there's animals burrowing through my brain. And when I realize it's 9 o'clock, even if I'm lying on the floor of someone's flat, someone's kitchen or whatever, I can hear the music. I can smell the croissants in the oven warming up. I can taste the coffee. I know what cup my dad is drinking out of. And these rituals, they ground me. They make me feel that everything is all right and everything is going to be okay. And so I wrote that picnic to encourage people to make rituals of their own. And I'm not saying it has to be on Saturday breakfast, and I'm not saying you have to have croissants. I'm saying make a ritual that find a place in your house where you can see the world outside, and put on your favorite socks and your lucky pants or whatever, and play your favorite album, and every week do the same. It only needs to take half an hour, and every week at the same time do something. Eat something you love, drink something you drink, whatever. And it could be a can of Coke and a ham sandwich. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just choose a time that you can watch the busy world outside while you sit and just do your thing. And I think it's like the only rubbish thing about meditation is that you can't have anything to eat or drink while you're doing it. And this is, in the creation of those rituals, these are easy and affordable luxuries to us all. And like, I don't care how busy anyone is or what anyone has to do. There is a time every week where you have half an hour to do that, to eat and drink the same thing. And that, like my dad says that, because now it's become so ritualistic for them that it's literally like, I know what jug the milk is going to be in for my dad's tea. I know what spoon my mum's going to use to put the frothy milk on top of the coffee and stuff. And that my dad says that he almost can't explain how wonderful it is to have something to look forward to so much happens every week. And like we could all do with a bit of that in our lives. And like and that's why I chose for that to be the last picnic, where I wrote about the story of my parents and Saturday breakfast and what it does for them and what it does for me to know. It's like that mad thing that is, like, wherever I'm in the world at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, that I know what they're doing.
Yeah, lovely.
There's something amazing about that. And like I said, I know what music is playing. I know what it smells like. And it's like, I'm so nearly there that everything's all right.
Yeah.
I think that is something, again, it's like the opportunities for deliciousness. It's like, that's a really easy way by creating that ritual of adding like something really wonderful to your life in a really easy way.
That's delightful. I think it's such a nice way to wrap things up too, because I think that's, you can create your own rituals with lots of ideas from here too, right? Lots of opportunities.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
And that maybe a ritual is going to McDonald's and tipping a coffee and some whiskey and a milkshake.
Exactly, right?
I love it.
Or putting some Campari in your Fanta the next time you're
Tipping Campari in your Fanta. Dan,
did you have anything else I sort of cut in there with the question?
No, I love it. Thank you for that. No, Max, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. It's obviously great to get to know you even more through these questions and answers, and super excited for your book. Super excited for everyone to see it here at the shop. It's in the window at the shop, so people see it along with the other books, so they know where some of the influences that we have here as well. So it's really fun to talk to you. You're such a fun person. We need more of you in the world. So if they do come up with a way to clone you, I hope they do. Anyway, be safe.
You can stick it in a book.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation.
Oh, it was really fun. Thank you for helping us get all this together. And thank you so much, Max, for your time and for staying up until now almost 2 o'clock in the morning to talk with us. And as I mentioned, the book is available on at booklarder.com. Dan has the Mean Sandwich special going the Max's Sandwich special going at Mean Sandwich this weekend. If you can't make it to London, get it for now. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So much.
You can
start.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
So fun. Thank you.